Hi everyone. In our last video, we started creating some functions and we started with the query functions and we also created an update function to create a proposal. And in this lesson, we are going to move on with our functions. Before moving forward, we are going to implement two enumerations so that we can handle the errors for the following functions. And also we are going to have an enumeration to make a choice. It's going to be either approve, pass or reject. To create our enums, first I will start with the choice. This enum is going to have three fields: approve, reject, and pass. And also we are going to say derive, and we will say candidate type and deserialize. So again, this will be our enum for the choice. We are going to have three different fields: approve, reject, pass. Depending on which field we have chosen in our input, we are going to update our proposal accordingly. Next enumeration that we are going to have is vote error. Here we are going to have our error type so that we can return with the functions, which is going to be much easier for later, for real projects that you are going to build, so that you would know how to handle your errors. For that, I'm going to say again derive, candidate type, and next we are going to say enum VoteError. Alright, inside this enum we are going to have already voted, proposal is not active, invalid choice, no such proposal, access rejected. This one will be for principals addresses trying to access or use a function which they cannot use because they are not the owner of the proposal, like edit proposal function. And finally, we are going to have a more generic error saying update error, and we are going to use this in multiple cases. And these cases will be if you don't know what went wrong, but something went wrong. Actually, it will be our 404. And goes this. Now we have our choice and we have our vote error so that we can move on with our function. First function we are going to create will be edit proposal function, and the owner of the proposal will be able to edit our proposal using this function. So let's say IC CDK, and we are going to say update since we are going to alter the state. Then we are going to say function edit proposal, and we are going to have our key as U64 because that's how we are going to retrieve data from our map. Next, we will have our proposal, and this will be the type of create proposal which we created just for these occasions. And then we are going to have our result, and as we said that we may return an error. For the first variant we are going to leave it empty for the OK situation, and for the errors we are going to say what error. And inside this function we are going to say proposal map.width. I think we are used to this at this point. And inside this function, we will have our P, and we are going to use curly brackets here because it's going to be a longer ones than we did before. Alright, so the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to retrieve the proposal with the given key. For that, I'm going to create a variable called alt proposal, and I'm going to say option because what we are going to have is an option, and then we are going to check this option because if we have some problem, we want to return what the problem is. And this will be equal to p.borrow.get, and that's like the ones that we did before, and key. Again, this will give us an option, and we are going to open up this option to see if we had the right value. First, let's say alt proposal, and this will be the type of proposal. Now, we are going to say match alt proposal option, and we will say if we have some value in it, then our alt proposal will be equal to this value. But if we got none, then we are going to return an error, and this error will be a vote error saying that no such proposal. Let's see what's wrong. Alright, since we haven't completed our function, it's complaining about our return type. Alright, so we created an alt proposal, not the option one, and we haven't used this yet. Then using the match, we looked at our alt proposal option, and if we had some value in it, then our alt proposal is now the proposal. But if we don't have any value in it, we got none, then what we are going to have is a vote error and we are going to return no such proposal. After this point, what we are expecting is that we already have our proposal so that we can work with it. Next, we are going to check if the caller is the owner. For that, I'm going to say if I see CDK caller, and if you remember, that's the principle that's calling this function, not equal to alt proposal dot owner. So in this situation, the caller of this function is not equal to the owner of our proposal, so that we are going to block this user by editing our proposal, because imagine that you create a proposal and anybody can edit it, which wouldn't make much sense. So if this is the situation, we are going to say return error, and inside this error we are going to say access rejected. Let's check our error. Again, it's about our return type. We are going to solve this in a bit. Now that we checked that if we got the proposal and if the caller of this function is the owner of the proposal, and if our function is okay till this point, we are going to move on by implementing or editing our proposal. For that, I'm going to say let value, which is going to be type of proposal, equals to proposal. And it's like the time that we created proposal up here, we are going to use the same ideology. I'm going to say description will be proposal.description. Approve is going to be alt proposal.approve, because we are actually transferring these values. Then we are going to have reject, and we will say alt proposal.reject. For the pass, it will be the same thing, alt proposal.pass. Is active will be alt proposal.is active, and this way we are actually conserving our values from the old proposal to the new one. After the is active, we have voted, and for that we are going to say alt proposal.voted. And finally, we have the owner, which is going to be the caller of this function. So we are not actually changing the owner. And again, we should actually say this is proposal.isActive. Now that we have another proposal structure here, and as you can see, other than the description and isActive, we are just using the old values. But for the description and isActive, we are actually updating our proposal so that, as you can see, we can just update the description and isActive, because for the approve, reject, pass, and voted an owner, updating this would actually lower the credibility of the proposal. Now that we have our value, we can actually insert it. I'm going to say let result equals p.borrow. We are going to borrow this as mutable, since we are going to insert this, and we are going to use this key value pair. And as you can see here, what we have is an option. So we are going to say match result, and we are going to see if there's an error. I'm going to say sum, and we are not going to do anything with this value. And if this is the case, I will say return OK. But if this is not the case, we have none here, and we are going to return an error saying vote error and update error, because this means that actually something went wrong while inserting this and we don't know what. So we are using our more generic error, which is update error. Alright, so this will be our edit proposal function. Let's again check it out what we did here. First, we said that we want to check if we were able to get the proposal or not. For that, we said we are going to have an option here, and we are going to open up this option using match. And if we have some value, then we are going to work with that value. If we got none, then we are going to return no such proposal. And this way, we won't be able to vote for the wrong proposal, or if we don't have it, we can return an error that the front end and the other part of the code or the program can work with. After checking this, next, we looked if the caller of this function is the owner of the proposal, and if we have an error here, we returned access rejected. And after these checks, we just ensured that everything is working fine, and then we moved on with our value, and our value is basically a new proposal, which we edited only the description and is active field. Next, we inserted this new proposal with updated values, and we checked if everything were okay. If it's okay, we return okay. If it's not, then we return update error. It will be the basic ideology for our following functions too. Since this video is getting a little bit long, that will be all for this lesson. and I'm going to see you on the next one where we conclude our smart contract functions. Thank you very much and see you there.